is to foster, our mission at New Entry is to foster resilience in our local, regional, and national food systems by training the next generation of farmers to produce food that's nutritious, culturally connected, and accessible to all individuals. And in doing this work, we develop economic opportunity for new farmers, generate new knowledge, and facilitate connections to the land to build thriving communities. So our three core program areas at New Entry are our farmer training programs, which you'll hear a lot more about this evening. We offer courses, explore farming workshops, experiential hands-on crop production courses, and our business planning courses. We also do other workshops on different topics to support agriculture in the sector. We run an incubator farm program where folks who come through our business planning course can have access to land, equipment, infrastructure for up to 3 years with lots of technical assistance. And then we run a food hub program, which is an extension of our farmer training program. We aggregate and distribute the delicious, healthy vegetables and fruits that our farmers grow to different market outlets, including a community-supported agriculture or CSA program, institutions, farm to school connections, and a lot of food access work. So we work with a lot of senior centers, food pantries, and others. And we're trying to move from a food access to a food sovereignty model where we hope to empower communities to grow their own food as well. And our third program area is our national and regional programs. We run a national network called the Field Network, which is a collaboration of apprenticeship training programs and incubator programs across the country. And in our regional work, we focus on a lot of other issue areas that are important to building the ecosystem of support for farmers, things like farm labor research. We work on legal issues. We're part of a multi-year project around social sustainability and farmer mental health and well-being. These are all important things as farmers get started, that there's a strong support system to help them continue, which we're going to hear about tonight. So just a quick few updates. We did just update our strategic plan last year. We're in our second year of that. So some of our goals and priorities moving forward as a program, we're continuing to build out some of the safety net programs, working on soil health, climate change, again, farmer wellness, and leadership development. We're also involved in some organizing work for the upcoming 2023 Farm Bill. We're members of the National Sustainable Agriculture Coalition. And so again, policy change to make that ecosystem of support for long-term farmer success is really important. So we hope that all of you will be paying attention as eaters to the largest piece of legislation that affects our food system coming up next year. We're also part of the Massachusetts Farmland Action Planning process. So this is the first time in over 40 years that the state of Massachusetts has pulled together a coalition of folks to look at farmland access, transition, and tenure. And so we're weighing in on that as well. We've also recently formed a group with the Tufts Urban Environmental Policy and Planning Program to focus on the North Shore Urban Agriculture Coalition. So we're hoping to build some partnerships on the North Shore in our new home to focus more on urban ag. And we're really looking forward to in-person events moving forward. So we'd love to invite everybody out to Moraine Farm in Beverly in person to come tour, visit, and hopefully have some delicious food through some events this spring and summer as things are moving forward. So our inspiration for this evening, I'm always inspired. This is my 20th anniversary being part of New Entry this year. What really inspires me are the people, the farmers, the agripreneurial heroes and sheroes from all walks of life. And so tonight, our talk is about building a farm, and we wanted to provide some inspiration and a reality check of what it takes when someone has a dream to become a farmer. It's not easy. New Entry really helps to set up the pathway to farming, but it really takes that, that person with the gumption and the determination and the community support around them to continue to walk on that on-ramp. We might provide some bumper guards here and there, but for the first 3 years, but the ultimate goal is to launch folks off onto their own to continue to build a healthy, vibrant food system in the region. So we'll explore tonight, well, how do they do that? What does it take? What are some of the obstacles? Where do folks find land? How do they build the infrastructure? Each of the stories are very different. Each person is unique, their path is unique, but they face many similar challenges and a lot of people to help along the way, and we're going to hear from them tonight. So sometimes they might find a little luck or just work exceedingly hard and persevere day in and day out to make it happen. So we could tell many, many stories. I'm really appreciative and grateful to Mohammed for being our featured farmer tonight. and to Tom and Jim, who are here and who've been part of Mohammed's support team as he's gotten started in Lincoln. So we'll discuss all this and more, but first we wanted to show us a short film that Tom Flint has created with Mohammed and team to help visualize how this happened for him and to show a little bit and put it into pictures and words and images that we'll come back to at our discussion. So thank you. Here we go. See you soon. And I think for all the panelists, if we can turn our videos off, that will help make the video spotlighted for the participants.
Accessing healthy food should not be a privilege. It should be simply the right. Everyone should have access to healthy food, not just food. Without considering how wealthy you are, what is your color, diversity, religion. That is one of the fundamental elements in our life that can keep us alive. So I don't think there is nothing to compromise here. One of the interesting thing in back home is we basically raised by our parents as a free range kids. We just went to my mom when we are hungry, and rest of the time is like playing around, catching fish, taking care of our goats, cows and chickens. It was a lot of fun. We used to prepare our own rice from the scratch, for cutting from the field, then drying it, then boiling it, what is known as para-boil, and we used to do it by hand or foot. I mean, obviously we didn't have that much of technology, so most of the activities were by hand, and we used to use bulls for plowing the land, and everything pretty much it's physical labor. It was fallow for a few years and looked like a jungle. My daughter and son, and they were like kind of scared. What are you gonna do? And then I took over. It was looking like this, almost like my chest height weed, as you can see in one of the bed on the other side.
The farms that I've been working on up to date have been established already. And so you come in and the infrastructure is there and you learn, how to do the farming. But here, there really was no infrastructure when he started. So seeing how he creates that infrastructure and just all the plans that he has, not just even what you can see right now, but what he can see a year down the road, 2 years down the road, has been really interesting.
We are doing some experiment in this bed, particularly some are in open bed under a sprinkler, and I have one section that is under landscape fabric. We would like to see what is the difference between like open versus under the landscape fabric, because this field has a lot of wind pressure, so we want to see what system works better. This is the lettuce, pretty small. You can barely see. Hopefully they will come out. This tiny lettuce.
Really, we've been doing everything that you need to do to set up a farm, because when we got there in April, basically we had pasture land and we needed to turn that into plots and land that you could run a vegetable farm on. Everything from setting out the plots, setting out the irrigation lines, doing the actual planting, putting down tarps to hold down the weeds. I mean, really the whole gamut of different activities that you can imagine you would be doing. And of course, weeding. Just always weeding.
This bed is really, really weedy. We need to take a lot of weeds. So this is going under. With the wind, all the leaves are going under. Then what will happen is, with the sun, it is gonna easily burn the leaves. See? So this is already done. So this is the delicate stage. We want all the leaves so that they can make photosynthesis. Planting all the seedlings, all the fields. I have sweet potatoes. Potatoes are coming. It's just the timing. I work mostly on the weekends, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and that is the biggest challenge. I need to put everything down within these 3 days for the next few weeks. How would you stay healthy? That is the question. You need to feed yourself with the right kind of food, right? As you can see, we use synthetic oil in our nice cars. What is the reason? Because it is sophisticated engine. And this is the same thing. Our body is one of the most complex machine ever built. And if you want to keep it smooth and going, you need to feed with really, really good stuff. Not what you like or what you choose by your eyes.
Seeing the difference in the quality of the food, I think, because I'm a huge cook, ingredients matter to me, and so having fresh vegetables and being able to share them with our friends and family as well, that makes a huge difference. Yeah.
Another day, another customer came in. She was saying, your lettuce is still good. I was telling her, because when you pick, this morning we harvested all the produce. So it has all the life, and supermarket produce, they are spending half of their life in the journey. Then it is coming in the supermarket, staying there for a few days, then whoever comes, Getting locally, in some cases you are probably paying little more, but considering the health benefit, what we are getting, and we don't know how they are grown and how much they are paying to their employees or how they are treating, and all should be matter. But for the economic reason, we want to spend as little as possible. So that is when I started thinking, I need to do something about it. So what we will do is we will set up a 10 by 10 or 10 by 15 feet shade in front of it, and then we will sell the produce from here too. And this will be a big parking area, and those are the parking. It looks really nice.
Yeah.
I can even sneak in the night. So I am occupying the field 3, which is mainly the logistics, electricity, water, walk-in cooler, Then I am planning to set up a high tunnel, so I can start early. Also, I can go longer. So this is another small storage shed we have, tractor shed and some basic infrastructure section in this area.
We actually, we were stuck indoors a lot for the pandemic, and we were trying to find something to do that we could socially distance and be outdoors. And we just loved hanging out with Mohammed and learning from him. And he's really hands-on and really, he'll throw you into it, and then you just pick it up so quickly. It's really fun.
So
Which one should we do?
we'll go on this line. That would be helpful. And you see there are some rocks right there. Olga, how are you doing?
Good, how are you?
Ready to work?
Oh,
Yeah.
we're ready to work, yeah.
I got so much help that I never realized. You cannot plan for those help, where those help will come, right? You just know if you have money you can employ, but there are so many people, so much help comes, you never thought about it. So that is, I think, super important. So we'll just keep going.
To clean something, you need water, and the water that we're using is pond water, so it's really hard to keep it clean. It's really even hard to get it clean once it's dirty. Got it.
There are tons of flea beetles, as you can see, like they're eating the leaves, they're chewing the leaves. So I thought we should cover it, but it is too hot now. Now it is almost dying inside. Some section. Now it will be nice. So I'm taking a few nails out done. It is really tough growing using organic practices with all the obstacles, environment, water and funding. We need to improve the system so that new generation, they are interested in farming and growing healthy produce. So if we cannot do that, that will be our failure. When I started growing cherries, it was funny. I was always thinking like, why people go 200 miles underground to mine gold and diamonds. I think these are the best diamonds and golds, and it will keep you alive. Sweet pepper. Oops. Yeah, look at this. This is super nice. I like it. Look at this. Whew. Look at the color. But it is getting a little woody, but so overall the texture is buttery. It's really creamy, really nice. As they ripe, they start falling on the ground. This is how they got their name, ground cherries. And you can see the color. It's so yummy. So here we have some interesting crops. This is the loofah gourd. Oh my god, look at this. Wow. I'll harvest those for tomorrow. This is a loofah gourd. It is now, this is the standard size for eating. My goal is to grow more Southeast Asian veggies. That is hard to find in the store, fresh. It's ready. Go. Yep. These are all going to umbrella site. In farming, I think communities should know where their food is coming. That is how we can change the dynamics of our local healthy eating. As we can involve more community in the process, they will know how hard it is to grow the food and how it is getting to their table. And they will then realize to support the local farming community and encourage people to come in this profession. It seems like I'm just moving. I was in Draycote, then moved to Beverly, then came to Lincoln, and it started growing. And the good part is I'm meeting so many people, and it is just inspiring to keep going. So I'll just have to find out a sweet spot where we can do a little bit more. Yeah. So we'll see.
Well, that is always so inspiring for me to watch. So thank you, Tom, for putting that together. Now I'd like to introduce our panelists, and then we can really dive into the conversation this evening. And again, to those of you joining us, I'd really encourage you as you move forward, please put your questions in the Q&A section so that we can make sure to get your questions answered. But without further ado, I just wanted to introduce Mohammed. Hannan, I'll start with you. Obviously, Mohammed was raised on a family farm in Bangladesh, and he moved to the US with his family over a decade ago now. And I think you heard a little bit from the film, when he found it difficult to access fresh organic produce he enjoyed as a child, he just decided he had to grow his own and do this crazy thing called starting a farm from scratch. So in 2018, he enrolled in the New Entry Sustainable Farming Project, and as he mentioned in the video too, started out at our Draycote incubator farm site, and then the whole program moved up to Beverly So he had to move his plot to Beverly along with us. And then after 3 years, he graduated from the program and was able to find land in Lincoln, which I'm sure he'll tell you about. But basically, he's been farming every year and expanding with his core values of healthy organic food that's not a privilege but a right. And his wife, Kaniz, and their children, Arham and Afshin, have spent every weekend on the farm. He's got a little mini labor force and all the volunteers and everyone else that's really helping him grow and sell this award-winning produce to everyone. So we'll hear about his expansion to 7 acres of farm in Lincoln, and he's continuing to grow and expand his business. And I'm sure we'll encourage all of you to support his farm stand and community supported agriculture program as we move forward. And when he's not farming, he works full-time at Harvard Medical School. So this is not unusual among farmers in the US, 80% or more who have off-farm income to make their farming pencil out and support their families. So that's a little bit about Mohammed. Then I wanted to introduce Tom Flint. He's the founder and director of Film Building, which is an educational program that curates discovery-based filmmaking experience to promote cross-cultural exchange. He's a graduate of RISD and spent 15 years living overseas as a freelance filmmaker in a variety of capacities, including director, writer, cinematographer, editor, and is now settled back in Lincoln, where he's originally from. He also is one of the 12th generation of Flints to have farmed and lived in Lincoln. So a few years ago, he and his sisters inherited the original Flint homestead. And Flint Farm is believed to be one of the oldest farms in New England and perhaps in the nation. And it's been continuously owned and farmed by the Flint family dating back to the 1600 land grants. He's a direct descendant of Thomas Flint, who arrived in 1636. I did my homework today. And as one of the first European settlers in what would later become the town of Lincoln. So I think Tom and his siblings are envisioning a future new life for the homestead. We've talked about this many times as a nonprofit entity devoting to educational programs on the history, agriculture, and land conservation, maybe including a museum, an event space, antique shop, destination. And we, all of us here on this call tonight, were a part of a wonderful farm to table dinner event featuring Mohammed's farm last fall, which was really great. So I look forward to learning more about Tom and his contributions to this film as we talked tonight. And then finally, Jim Henderson, who is also no stranger to farming. He grew up on a small family farm in Lincoln as well, raising chickens, eggs, sheep, and became the president of his local 4-H poultry and sheep club. For the past 21 years, he's operated Henderson Stryker, which is a land management and landscape design and build service based out of Lincoln. He's done a lot of land management services for private landowners, construction, land trusts, municipalities, Minuteman National Historic Park, and all kinds of earthwork, groundwater remediation, slope stabilization, hardscaping. Prior to that, Jim worked for over 30 years in global manufacturing of consumer products and the design of other industrial electronics. He's also a graduate of RISD, which is exciting. We have a lot of arts folks who find their way to land conservation and great projects. And for the past 20 years, he's been a very active volunteer on the Lincoln Land Conservation Trust, the Lincoln Rural Land Foundation, and has served on the Lincoln Conservation Commission. He's also served on the Codman Community Farms Board as its ag director, and he served on New Entry's advisory board. And Jim is close to my heart because he's no stranger to helping farmers thrive and solve their greatest challenges. Jim and several other community members were instrumental in helping myself, my husband Pete, transition our own farm, formerly that was in Concord, when we lost our land, to Codman Community Farm here in Lincoln as well. And he's been very supportive as we've been able to grow the farm over the last 6 seasons. So he's helped promote and guide Lincoln's ag land licensing program and created its farm policy program, and really puts farmers as the stewards of the land with supporting their long-term needs and mentoring a lot of young organic farmers. So it's people like Jim who take their volunteer work and commitment to helping others navigate the complexities of land, infrastructure, and municipal relationships. He's offered his kitchen table as a whiteboard to help plan, and has offered his outdoor sinks for midnight runs for vegetable washing, I hear. And it's people like Tom who help capture these stories and share these lessons about building community and building connection across cultures. So we need our our executors and engineers, and our storytellers. And it's people like Mohammed, who have the vision, the drive, and the self-determination, and the resilient dedication to starting a farm literally from the soil up, from scratch, in a new country, on leased land, to help feed our communities healthy food. And it's programs like New Entry that really try to work to build this on-ramp and just really harness the drive and passion that farmers have who want to make this work. And it's the help of the community, again, who surround everyone to make this work. It's a very complicated web of relationships, and it really does take a village to start a farm. So I'd like to start us off with some questions for the panelists to start our conversation. And as a reminder, please add your questions to the chat, which we'll make sure to spend time to get to those. But first of all, because this is a relationship-based endeavor and you're all here together, can you tell us a little bit how you all met and how you got connected to one another?
I can start.
Mohammed, you want to start?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'll start. That a few years ago, I was on the commission, and I was the ag guy on the commission, along with another farmer, Ari Kurtz, and Mohammed came to find land in Lincoln. And he had an interest, worked with Tom Gumbart quite a bit, who was our conservation director, to look at the fields that were available, and was directed to look at a couple of them and made a proposal initially for Umbrella Field, which is the new one he just picked up this year. And since that time, I've been supporting Mohammed because I felt the mission and his passion for farming were so great. I just wanted to be part of it. And this is, I've done this for other farmers, but this was something special and something unique.
Great, I guess I'll go next. Yeah, I first met Mohammed not too long ago. I want to say just over a year ago, through a post that I think I saw him put on Lincoln Talk, which is this listserv that goes around the town of Lincoln. And I responded to it because he seemed like an interesting guy, had fairly recently emigrated from Bangladesh with his family, had started a new farm in Lincoln. I had lived overseas. My background's in farming, as Jennifer had mentioned, and I thought this could be a really, really interesting person to meet, and perhaps there's a story there. So I connected with Mohammed just about a year ago, started visiting his sites over in South Lincoln and in North Lincoln at his two different fields. And I thought, first of all, what an amazing guy to be able to graduate from New Entry and, really, from the soil up, hit the ground running, get his business, Hannan Healthy Foods, going rather quickly. And I got to meet his family. And I thought, this is a story that's definitely worth telling because it's important for what Mohammed has done himself. It's important for the bigger picture, obviously the people that he connects with in order to, sell his food and supply, organic produce. And I thought it was a really, really important time to be telling this type of story. So, yeah.
It was really great meeting all the new people in Lincoln. And when I heard from Tom, he wrote me that he is interested to talk and learn more about the farm and what I am doing. And I thought it is really interesting to make a collaboration with one of the oldest farm and one of the baby farm. So I instantly replied to him, yes, let's work together. And one of my mission is to bring the community together. However, ways you can do it. I think this is the time. Farmers and farming should not be a job for the lonely people. We need to somehow connect the community to see what we are doing, how we are doing it, why is it important to support local farmers and the community. And I think only way we can do it, building the relationship with all all the people from different expertise. I never knew like what kind of expertise is needed. It needs engineer to do a farming. It needs creative people to get it out, to promote the stuff what you are doing. And when I met Jim through the application process, he was on the board. And from this time on, I learned so many things from him. It's really a resource for one of the community. And I think we need to learn as much as possible from those people, as long as they are around us. And we should not be losing this opportunity, learning opportunity from them. It needs a lot of commitment, dedication, and helping mentality. And he had all the stuff. I mean, the place I am here today, I would not be here without a lot of people, from Renee to last Tom, Jennifer, and all the people. I cannot name all the people. It's I can just only say it would not be possible without the help of the community. And I see it is a positive thing that all the people are coming forward, and this is a good time to learn, embrace, and seek the community help and build the relationship through food.
If I could just quickly add on to that, Jennifer, I know you want to move on to the next question, but exactly what Mohammed just explained about the essence of collaboration that is found in farming and agriculture, that was something that I didn't really understand until I started working with Mohammed on this film. And as a filmmaker, I had always understood the importance of collaboration and pulling people together to tell a story. But I thought, after making this film with Mohammed, perhaps, just perhaps, the whole reason we farm is for community to come together and to meet people and to collaborate and learn from one another. And I think I learned a lot of things like that from Mohammed. And just very quickly, I'm going to put in the chat a link to the film on YouTube for those who want to see it, because I don't know if it was the same with everyone else watching the film, but on my computer, it was very choppy. So if you want to go back and see it, it's right there. Okay, Jennifer.
Great. No, thank you. I really appreciate that. And so one other thought I just had as I was watching the film and thinking about the title that came to me, it's not on my question list, but thinking about starting land and turning it into a farm is a very different thing that I think sometimes people don't appreciate. They think land is land. Oh, if you have land, you can farm it. But land really isn't a farm until there's infrastructure involved. I mean, the land is kind of a blank canvas. And making a film, you're starting out with a blank canvas. Putting in any kind of landscape job, you're starting out somewhat with a blank canvas. And you have to have the vision to do this work and to have an idea of where you're going and where you'd like to be. So I'm wondering if each of you could share a little bit about what your vision was when you came to this relationship, or where did you start from? What was your blank canvas, and where did you feel like you were going, or where are you going?
Well, I would say I started with Mohammed looking at that field with yellow foxtail, 3 or 4 feet tall, and talking about how we might fence it in and things like that, and how we would prepare the ground. So the year before he actually started on the ground there, late that fall, he and I guess I had to rototill everything because there was so much organic material on top. But anyways, that was an important part of starting to realize that he needed support, and he needed broad support from the community, not only what I do, because I do this is what I do for a business, but it's also what I like to give. And so I realized that this was a big opportunity to get this guy started on the land and try to remove as many obstructions as possible and help him in planning. looking at all the things that had to be done, and we had dialogues. We mentor back and forth about a lot of the elements of the farm, and neither of us foresaw that he would expand the 2 acres that he had in North Lincoln to the additional 6 or 7 acres in South Lincoln, and that becoming the hub of his farm within a year of him starting. It was amazing, and we realized that we had to jump on it. We had to go for it, and there were all sorts of things. There was more than there was in the Northfield, but there wasn't quite enough. So we didn't have a farm stand. All we had was a well. Everything else was just kind of, it was another field with tall weeds. And so in a year, in the last year, we've moved a farm stand, an old shed, a chicken shed, made it a farm stand out front. We built a cooler. We put electricity into the cooler. We have assembled a greenhouse in the back. We're now restoring an old shed that's out back. We've got a road to go. We've got water to put in, all kinds of things. So it's just the tip of the iceberg, but planning, which Mohammed likes to do, he's a planner. We work those all out and we kind of set priorities. So it was a very engaging, period of time, and I'm loving it.
Great. Someone just asked in the chat, who is the we in these accomplishments? So maybe I should interject and see if you guys want to describe your relationship so folks understand as we move forward through the conversation.
I think there's a whole bunch of we's, depending on what's happening. There's the we that plant, there's the we that builds infrastructure, and they're little teams, and their people join and then don't have time and somebody else joins. So it's a rotating thing. There's core teams that kind of provide the leadership structure and the framework, and then there's lots of places to plug in and help.
I mean,
did I get that right?
You are right. I mean, it's a whole lot of people starting from Jennifer. Congratulations, Jennifer, for 20 years of service. This is where it started, basically, back in 2018. And from that time, I got help from so many people. I started volunteering with one of the new entry graduates, Renee Toul-Dubois, and she and her friend, basically we were talking and looking at what we can do. And that was basically the beginning. I worked with her for whole summer, Saturdays and Sundays, just to test. And after that summer, I thought, it's a lot of work, but the conclusion was, it is hard work, but I can do it. So after 3 years, when I did it, it was a kind of aha moment that someone can do a farming having a full-time job. And looking at this, basically there was a lot of people, a lot of woofers came in, helpers, volunteers, community people from Lincoln. And I can say it might be a lucky shot being in Lincoln. It is one of the egg-friendly town, and the people, the Conservation Commission, it is amazing how much support they would like to bring for the new farmer to succeed. The land I am leasing from them, you can say it is almost free, the money they are charging. But obviously there is no infrastructure. You get to do something for that. But, I think it's the whole community. I do not want to farm alone. That is my goal. I want to bring the whole community together to grow our food. We cannot survive without food. And if we lose our ground, the soil, we'll be losing everything. So that is, I think that is the sacred duty for all of us. And what we are seeing today, it seems it is becoming more prominent to secure our food. And the years we see the problem last 2 years. There is nothing more good thing we can do rather than growing your own food, support the local economy.
Could I add another comment? One thing that the Conservation Commission adopted was a plan to look at the infrastructure on all our fields. A number of our fields are run by nonprofit organizations that have more funds and can put in infrastructure, but I was interested in the fields that have no infrastructure, that startup farmers are looking at and trying to say, what could the town do? What could the town invest in? So we put in roads for Mohammed, improved a road, and those kinds of things. So in each case, we're trying to add value that goes forward through Mohammed's period on the land and for the next farmer's period on the land. This is something very dear to Mohammed's heart and probably Tom's heart, is the continuation of farming and giving gifts that go forward, making investments that go forward. And that's been a big part of my passion in this particular project.
Yeah, and just to clarify, there's a question in the chat, but yes, Mohammed is farming on town-owned land. So the 2 parcels that he has a license for in the town of Lincoln, so it's public land or town-owned land. But
Town-owned, yep.
Yeah. So there's an application process and a license agreement.
Yeah.
Things like that. Yep. Great, wonderful. So I wondered if you could dive into a little bit of the details. Again, I think we saw it in the field, but when you're starting from scratch and building a farm and you kind of left this nest that is New Entry on an incubator farm, it is this nice little place where there's all the infrastructure already, there's other people to learn from, there's staff and training staff and former farmers to provide you with technical assistance and guidance to answer all of your questions. And then we kick you out of the nest and we say, go find land, succeed and prosper. We'll be here to answer any of your questions. What is that process like? How do you start finding land? How did you land up? You were so fortunate to end up in Lincoln, given the support that you've received, but you've also had to address some challenges and barriers and work through some bureaucracy. And how did you make all that happen? Because not everybody finds their way to this situation.
Thank you. So I knew that after 3 years I have to leave New Entry, but having this in mind, I was basically starting to find land from the second year. So this is how I was basically cold calling to the towns. One of the reasons I wanted to find the land close to the place where I live in Cambridge. So my goal was to find something close so that I can keep my job, basically keep my full-time job, and finding a place where I can still continue my farming, what I love. So this is how I met Tom Gumbert, and he said, we might have land coming in the market in next year or 2. So I was continuously basically pushing him. So on and off, I was sending emails and stuff. And in my 3rd year at New Entry, this is when it came to the market. So I was kind of overwhelmed. That was a moving year. At the same time, this is the time I have to apply. So I was basically holding 2 licenses at the same time in 2020. So that was not easy for me. I have to maintain those 2 fields at Lincoln and Beverly. But I was kind of determined that I need to find the land. So I was really thinking, what can I do without any infrastructure on the property? But then I was realizing the experience of my back home. I think it helped me. One of my farmer friend and mentor, Rene, she was telling me, oh, what can you do there? And we were, talking back and forth, and finally decided, let's take it. I came from a country and from a place where there was nothing. I didn't have a car to go to my farm field. But now I have a car, I can go there at least. So here you go. I have some resources, and I think I am pretty close to a highway. I will find something. So that was the like a blind hope. Just a small 20 by 14 hoop house and a pond for irrigation. And I decided, oh, okay, I will just grow stuff that does not need washing. And I will, decrease my volume, but I can still grow something. So that was the hope. Then we started reaching out people, working with Jim, meeting Tom, and Jennifer was pretty close, and getting all the back and forth communication. I was looking where I can wash veggies. So Jim opened up his backyard, where I was starting, washing veggies in the evening. Basically, it was fun. Then I started looking into different grants where I can get the money to get the infrastructure. So wherever I got chance, I applied through American Farmland Trust to get a grant to buy a BCS. At the same time, while I was working full time, new entry and new farm, I was also taking a class at Babson College. It is a common class with Babson College and Commonwealth Kitchen. I graduated from the class. I got a grant from them. Then this season, I got another grant from the same organization. That is a slightly bigger grant. And then I started looking into NRCS and Farm Service Agency to see if I can get some money to build high tunnel, shallow well at Ritchie Field. And luckily I got one grant, FSA loan. Then I applied for another grant, MDR grant, that came in luckily. So, and obviously the help from the town, making available, they were pretty generous to give me one piece of the parcel at Umbrella Field that was under Drumlin Farm lease, and I requested, I don't have anywhere else to go, so they were really open, and they saw the problem, and they wanted to help. So that was the start of my Drumlin Farm operation, where they had a deep well and the electricity. So I was harvesting veggies, taking the veggies from Ritchie Field to Umbrella, which is 10-15 minutes drive. But it was a lot of back and forth. But now everything started slowly coming along, and I'm pretty hopeful that the operation will go well. We are hiring people. The assistant field manager this season, and also trying to get few field crews to get the operation going as I work full time, so they can take care of the field and manage the field better, and we can do the land stewardship much better with all the community people, and we can also support the local community and the local economy. So,
can I add a few comments?
Sure.
So along the way, when you're setting up a new farm, a lot of things tend to happen at once, and they're not always scheduled in a nice arrangement. So we started getting deliveries of stuff that had to come into a field. Well, neither of these fields had an address. One is remote up in North Lincoln off Route 2A, and the other is on 117. Neither had an address. Shippers wouldn't necessarily find them. We had a logistics truck driving around for half an hour until he drove by in front. We happened to see the truck and we waved him down. So those kinds of things happen. Permitting for wires in the ground, permitting for signs, all are very challenging things depending on, how town government works, and each town is different. So stuff like that happens a lot. And then when you get grants, the timing of grants is Mohammed will probably detail this to some extent. It's amazing how complicated the time schedule of writing, preparing, submitting a grant, and then if any corrections are necessary, doing whatever corrections, and then hoping you hear something. And then following up and following up and following up. So I've watched Mohammed, he and I've worked together on some of them. And it's really quite an experience. Plus you're doing your day job and you're working on the farm. And so right now we've got greenhouses to put up, we've got water lines to put in, and we've got to start all the veggies. So right now, the ground's still frozen. We've got work to do on the ground, and soon it'll be all mud, and we still got work to do on the ground. So there's just a lot of, it's farming. That's what farming is.
You're right, Jim.
So I guess a couple of questions. I'm going to ask some from the audience as well. One of the questions, Mohammed, is how did you find the volunteers, and what impact have you seen happen to them? How have they been changed by the experience working with you?
Actually, I started getting volunteers and roofers from back in 2018. Few of the volunteers who started working with me, 3 of them has their own farm now. So that was amazing to see. I'm not sure if the inspiration was all from me. They worked other places too, but I was really, it was really interesting to see that those people started their own farm, and we became basically friends, all of us. So for me, it is really interesting. We are building, a community, and during 2000. Just before the pandemic, the UF US, they reached out to the farmer that many people are seeking, to get experience to work on the organic operations, organic farms. And I signed up for the woofing program to host, but unfortunately, I don't have any house or anything on the property. The way the program works, you need to accommodate food and housing for the woof. But I was accepting day woofers, basically local woofers who are interested to help and learn and build the community. So that was one of the big plays. How I was getting some help. And when I needed to install 1,600 feet deer fence, it was kind of overwhelming for me. And I reached out to Lincoln Talk. We are looking, some community help. And I didn't know how many people I will get. So in one weekend, 12 to 15 people came from Lincoln. They became the friends of Hannan Healthy Foods in Lincoln. And I was thinking it will take me 2 to 3 weeks to install the deer fence. And we did 1,600 feet deer fence in a week. So I was, it was not expected. So that is one of the reasons you saw me as talking on the video that some help, and it is unexpected. But I think this is one of the important things we need to see. Somehow, if we can build that relationship to make rooms where community can come together to see how the farmers are doing things. We are the food care provider, and this is very, very important. So you
And I
know.
think part of along the way too, one of the things that Jim was alluding to as well is there are so many risks and challenges and things, you know, even to have volunteers on a commercial farm, we had to had to talk about how do you structure those arrangements legally so that everyone is protected. You know, it's not an easy thing to do as a community-based farmer to take on that kind of risk and liability to your business to say, come one, come all, help, because farming can be a dangerous business. So how are you able to protect yourself in those situations?
I currently accept only woofers, so still it is not 100% you know, legal protection from the state, but as an organization, WOOF as an organization, big organization, it has some protection. But we do have those woofers actually work as a kind of employee, but not 100% compensated. But we do keep worker compensation if anything happens in terms of safety or health issues that can be mitigated through the worker compensation insurance. And we try to maintain highest safety issues at the farm so that do the work without trying to basically protect ourselves. Safety is the number one thing we consider at the farm side. So
no lost time accidents so far that I know of.
Yeah. I don't know how much has changed in terms of the demand for you know, people to get out into open spaces since COVID has begun. I'm sure it's exponential. But one of the interesting things that I found as I was interviewing a lot of the people that were helping Mohammed out through the filming was that a lot of people were doing it just to get out of the city, just to kind of break the routine of their COVID lives. And I started to become a little bit interested in the connections between nature and mindfulness and therapy. And I still have a lot to learn about it, but I think that's absolutely a benefit that I saw that these people were gaining from the experience. So I think perhaps one thing to keep in mind for farmers looking to do what Mohammed has done is when you're marketing your program and trying to get people involved to think about it from their perspective. What kind of things could they get out from visiting a farm for a few hours, enrolling as a woofer, and helping out? Because I think there's a lot to gain from it.
I think it's also important how you engage people that want to volunteer on the farm. And I found Mohammed has a particularly wonderful interpersonal set of skills that allow him to really help people do the things they need to do on the farm and be safe and look out ahead for where, you know, the next thing that they need to do, but not in a way that's at all making it feel like a work experience. There are challenges, there are opportunities, there are all these, you know, positive things that he presents. And he and I tease each other a lot when we're working. We were setting up a greenhouse and we finished putting all the stakes and all the hoops were laying on the ground. We said, well, it's only 3. I can't remember, but we ended up working until dark with headlamps on, putting up all the rest of the hoops just to get it done so we could check it off our list. And I think that happens a lot on the farm. We were putting down big sheets, 15 foot wide of ground cloth for some plantings we were doing. The wind was up, it was pouring rain. I can't remember, it was May or June or something like that. Yeah. And we all just stayed at it. We just figured out a way to do it, a new process we hadn't done before. And we got it all done. And it's just because everybody bought into the energy and the mission of getting it done. It was a great experience.
That's wonderful. That's what it takes, right? That's what the community barn raisings used to be all about, that people coming together as a community to make sure that everybody helped one another and things got done. Because sometimes you have to fight against the weather and the timing and all the other challenges that are coming down the pike. So the season, all that good stuff. So just not to shift gears too much, but one question to touch on for both Jim and Tom. It'd be interesting to hear about how or why you both connected your RISD, or if you did connect your RISD experience to farming.
Very interesting
Go ahead, Tom.
question. Okay. Yeah, so when I was at RISD, I was doing a master's program in art and design education. And I essentially did a really deep dive into film education because I work as a filmmaker, but also as a film educator. And I became very interested in this more discovery-based approach to both making films and teaching film. And it kind of tails into the question that was asked earlier to Mohammed about the process that he went through when he was first getting started and what we were learning as we were on the ground with Mohammed. And I ended up taking a very kind of exploratory approach to this film. I had met Mohammed. We had spoken a couple of times before I actually visited him on the field, but I didn't really know what the film was going to look like and what it was going to behave like until I got there. And then I would go back every weekend because he was working full-time at Harvard. So I would visit Riki Field every Friday and Saturday, and it would look completely different. You know, the fence was not up yet. The fence was up. There was a problem with the irrigation system. You know, the garlic was in. Now the tomatoes were starting to come up. So it was a matter of, I guess, being flexible enough to kind of write the story as it was taking place, as opposed to structuring everything beforehand and simply executing what I had planned from the beginning. And I think, I don't know if that sounds at all like your RISD experience, Jim, but I think the exploratory aspect, the, for lack of a better word, organic aspect of it, I guess, was something that really helped.
Yeah, I would say my experience at RISD, I went through a master's program in product design, and I invented and made all kinds of products for various companies. And what RISD gave me was a sense of inventiveness. I'm a tool maker by nature, grew up on a farm and didn't have everything, so we made it. And I bring that to invention. So in RISD, we did a lot of inventing, created all kinds of products as part of the graduate program. And that was fantastic because many times you had to think outside the box. You were trying to solve a problem that hadn't been solved before. So that got me started. And then I went from RISD into consulting for a while and then into the toy industry for 20 years. And I ran an engineering group in the North Shore up near where Jen's new office is in Beverly, Parker Brothers and Hasbro. And I ran an engineering invention model shop department up there. And all we did is solve problems. And what was really interesting was just like being back on the farm. Weird stuff happens all the time in manufacturing. Stuff that shouldn't break breaks, and you have to be able to solve problems in unique ways. So I would say it's really a problem setting solve skills and an ability to do research to find out, and quickly, different kinds of answers that you try on. You don't worry about them. If they're good or bad, you just try them and you explore them and then you apply them. And that's exactly when Mohammed and I were out in the field trying to get these giant sheets of ground cloth down to plant through. The wind was whipping. We invented a whole new system to do that. That was accurate, predictable, and then we went on to do the rest of the fields that way. And we felt like so accomplished that day. It was just amazing. So it's a problem-solving thing, I think, for me. And
I think, yeah, problem-solving is certainly the key word there. Yeah.
I feel like that so nicely sums up why so many people stay in farming once they're hooked, or why they're hooked, because yeah, there's never the same day twice. And
that's right.
There's always new challenges and opportunities. And I think, Mohammed, I'm sure you can speak to this, but like you have to be able to get up every day and want to deal with those challenges because they're going to be there for you. And so how do you find the personal resolve to keep going? Where does it come from?
I mean,
because not everybody makes it, right? I mean, I think, when you're presented with so many challenges, you've been very successful at writing applications and seeking support and resources and garnering support around you. But sometimes that's not everybody's path. Like I said, everyone's unique and it's easy to give up, but you're still here, you're farming. How do you do it?
I mean, it becomes really hard at the beginning, but as you are doing and taking more stuff on your plate, and then it becomes easy as you go. Sometimes I work, very early in the morning. I start my day 4:30. By 7:38, I'm out of the field towards my regular job. And after working even 7 days now, sometimes when I'm writing rounds and all the other stuff, the nights also get longer sometimes. But I think at the end of the day, I find it really interesting that, if you have a goal in front of you, and if you keep pushing yourself, it is possible. But obviously, it does not come with just with my initiative, but it also brings help from all other people around you. And I think this is important when you are, doing something, and it is always good to seek help where you need it. Sometimes you might get overwhelmed with a lot of, duties and activities, but sometimes you'll see that you find help from other people, and it makes life a lot easy. And I think, always my goal is to bring the farming is in a creative way to engage the community somehow where it belongs to, and you'll find joy when the community people are around. And I would like to create an open source system where the new farmers, farmers and interested people find it easy, not thinking that having all the resources in any other field, any other job. Why should you go farming, having less money? Somehow you need to create innovative ideas to make it interesting to the new generation, so that they feel they can think that this is something we need to continue, rather than, oh, let's go, everyone, let's find jobs in IT sector. Who is gonna grow our produce? So we need to seek new innovative ways to engage the new generation.
Great.
Yeah.
I would say one other thing, if I may, is that in people in their early years in thinking about farming and experimenting with farming, you start to assess skills, knowledge and skills, and look at what you see demonstrated as might be necessary skills in the particular slice of farming you're interested in, and start looking to acquire those specific ones. And Mohammed had a great story he told me about making sure he was tough enough to work the job at Harvard and do his farm. So he worked weekends, volunteering at New Entry. So he worked 7 days a week for a season, I guess. And, that was a test for him, something he wasn't sure that he could do it. And he's doing it. He's been doing it. So I think there are all kinds of things we ask about ourselves, and where we fit and what we know and what we don't know. And it's good to be open. And I think Mohammed, in what he just said, is offering to share. The best thing we can do is share what we know and help move people forward in a positive way.
Great. Well, we're a little bit over time, but I know we have a couple really important questions here. I'm just wondering if you can each take like 30 seconds and maybe give me a few word answers to both of them, because I think they're going to both wrap us up nicely. So one question is, I know this is not a short answer, but where do you see the farm in 5 years? And then what can municipalities or others or public policies do to really help secure a future in farming? So where do you see things going, and where do you think people can help? And we'll kind of leave it at that.
I think in next 5 years, my goal is to take the farm in a position that it is not only our goal is to make money, but I would like to make sure that we take care of our soil, how we can reduce tillage in our operations. So slowly started going to a no-till operation, and obviously supporting the local economy, getting creating more interested people, bringing into the operation in farming, so that we can be sure that someone is there to take care of the duties once you are not able to carry out. Only we have 2% farmers in the US, and you can easily realize it is not enough. So what can we do about it? And that is one thing I would like to focus in next 5 years, along with growing my operation, and how can we support the next generation to come into the farming. And the town and the cities, I think this is really, really important. We can easily change the cities and towns, not the whole country. But once the cities and towns are straight and they can take the right decision, ultimately the country will change, the nations will change. So I think we have a big duty, and it is easy to make decision in the towns rather than in the state or the federal level.
Great, thank you.
Yeah. I think what you were alluding to earlier, Mohammed, about just the importance of making it more accessible for people to come into farming, especially with this younger generation. I think that's really the most important question that we should be asking in terms of sustainability, and how do we carry this all forward. And I think there's a real opportunity for the industry to take advantage of what's happening right now with people kind of returning to the land. It's been a trend going on for a number of years, even pre-pandemic, but it's really escalated, and we've seen so many more people out in Lincoln's open spaces, using the trails, walking through the fields with their families, and so on. So I think this is really an opportunity for policymakers to say, how do we invite the next generation into farming and make it beneficial to them, so that when people like Mohammed are looking for land, it's available and it's competitive, because so many people are looking for land. So, yeah.
Thank you. Jim?
I think it's all about the small farmer for me in New England. We're losing lots of small farms, and dairies, large farms. But I think that we've got to get training wheels out. We've got to help cities and towns make the transition to better infrastructure support for the farmland that still exists, because we're still losing farmland. But I see that as part of what we're experimenting with Mohammed, in starting to put in roads where there hadn't been roads, and putting infrastructure in. Part of that is town expense, part of it's been Mohammed's expense. And I think it's really key that cities start to address that, because farming is changing. More and more farm goods will be produced under shelters of some kind, or in protected zones because of the climate variations. And I think that we need to really help address that. And that's a lot of infrastructure. And I think that towns can do some of that, but I think what I've seen is that nonprofits have enough community support. They're a big enough organization to have substantial support to do the things that they need to do for their mission. And when I look at individual small farmers at the introductory level, it's a struggle. And we've got to find a way to put more stuff on the fields. And what I'm trying to do in Lincoln is look at some of the best fields and try to build the infrastructure there so they're more welcoming, and they help accelerate the farm to a point that it's sustainable, and it provides for the community, provides for the farmer and the farm workers, and is an example that can be replicated across New England.
Wonderful. Well, thank you all so much. I know we could keep talking for hours and hours more. I have so many questions we didn't get to, but I really appreciate everyone in the audience for attending. This was really inspiring for me, again, to just connect with all of you, Mohammed, Jim, and Tom, and your expertise and all the great work that you've done. I live in Lincoln, so it's been wonderful to drive by every day, either on 117 or Route 2A, and just see all the transformation that's happened. And you captured it so well, Tom, in the film, and Jim, for all of your support. So thank you all for sharing that with us tonight. Thank you to the participants for attending and asking great questions. Please do share the recording with friends and colleagues who weren't able to attend tonight. And I just wanted to wrap up with a few ways that you can support New Entry moving forward. So hopefully we have more success stories like Mohammed to share in the future. Obviously, you can support and donate to our work. We always need unrestricted operating support to help producers meet their greatest needs and challenges, which are constantly evolving. Climate change, as someone mentioned, is an ongoing issue. That means that we have to continue to solve problems and be creative in how we support farmers to navigate that and their knowledge as we move forward. Can get involved and volunteer at New Entry as well as at Mohammed's farm as well. We have CSA share packers and farm and field work folks. You can purchase one of our CSA shares, purchase one of Mohammed's CSA shares, shop at his farm stand. We also have the Massachusetts Choose Fresh and Local license plate program. Love to see the little veggies on people's cars. It's a great way to drive your way to change here. Feel free to register. I know there was a question in the chat about someone looking for more hands-on knowledge about greenhouse growing and growing your own food. Feel free to register for a New Entry course or workshop that we have on our website. And thank you all so much. We look forward to seeing everybody, hopefully at an in-person event later this summer as well. And Jim, you look like you have one more thing to say.
I do have one more question. Is there any way that we can continue the conversation if anybody has questions for any of us? Do you have kind of a blog or a email something? I don't know what that might be, but there may be questions that people want to ask any one of us that have been on the panel.
Yeah, no, that would be great. If folks still have questions, we're happy to have people email me, and then I can connect all of us with an email chain. Yeah, so definitely invite everyone. So please send me your questions that you feel like we didn't get answered, and we're happy to have Mohammed, Jim, and Tom weigh in. So, and thank you for sharing. We'll post your email, Mohammed, to the group as well. So,
Thank you,
well, thank you all. I appreciate it.
Participants.
And
Thank
I
you,
hope
Jennifer.
that the 2022 growing season is a success for you, Mohammed, and that you continue to garner all the support that you need.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Jen.
Thank you.
Thank
you, everyone.